Hey, what's going on? Thank you for coming back to another episode of Family Matters with Instructor Mike. I am your host, Instructor Mike, and we are going to start a series called Are You Qualified? I am of the belief that marriage and parenting are vocations that require skills for you to actually be able to address the problems that occur in both marriage and parenting. But we are going to stick with just parenting at this time. Without further delay, let's dive into it. Common infant problems and the skills every parent needs to respond effectively. We're going to start off with the infants. Let's dive into it. So here we go. Here are the contents that we're going to talk about. Problems are predictable. Understanding that infant challenges are common and can be anticipated with preparation. Two, common problems and skills. We're going to identify 14 specific infant challenges and the essential skills needed to address them. Three, qualified parenting approach. Why skilled parenting matters more than just being present for your child. And then four, key takeaways, the essential resources, and final thoughts on building your parenting skit. Let's get to it. All right. Parenting an infant is not about guessing your way through chaos. These little humans come with a predictable set of challenges. These fundamental insights, they remind us that effective parenting extends beyond instinct. It actually requires knowledge, skill, ability, competence, confidence, capacity, and preparation and the development of specific skills to address common child problems, but in this case, common infant challenges with confidence rather than panic. Here we go. Problems are not personal. I need you to tell yourself that. Problems are not personal, they actually are predictable. Understanding infant development is very important. These infants are fresh to the world and they arrive with a set of predictable challenges. These things are predictable, and every parent can learn to anticipate what you know is likely to happen, more likely to happen, and address these issues, these problems with proper preparation and knowledge, right? Common infant problems follow recognizable patterns that can be studied beforehand and prepared for in advance. These are learnable skills, things that you can learn. I know people might have told you that you couldn't learn these things. If they did, and if they did, that's fine. But every challenge requires specific parenting skills that can be developed through education and practice. So you can have a prepared response with the knowledge and the wisdom and the preparation to eliminate panic, replacing it with confident parenting responses that are effective. Now, these are some common problems and essential skills, 14 key challenges. Every infant faces these predictable things that require specific parenting skills to address them effectively. Everything from feeding difficulties to sleep patterns. Oh, you're going to learn so much if you don't already know. And if you do know, comment on this and share it to somebody who doesn't, because a lot of us went through making unnecessary mistakes that could have been avoided had we had the knowledge ahead of time. Each problem has research backed solutions that can be learned and mastered. Here on this page, we are going to approach it from a science based approach that is backed by pediatric research and developmental science, ensuring that what you do is evidence based. It is based on evidence of what actually works rather than just guesswork. Okay, the necessary skills that you are going to acquire here can actually come through more parenting classes, healthcare resources, and professional guidance programs. Let's dive into it. Here we go. Problem number one. Oh, you guys gonna get it now. Inconsolable crying. The skills that are needed, emotional regulation. Now, let's take a pause here. I encourage you to dive into the theory of constructed emotion by Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett in her wonderful book, How Emotions Are Made. Let me ask you this question. Sound off in the comments. Are we born with emotions? Are we born with emotions? Or, here we go, are we born with our senses? Sight, taste, touch, hearing, and smelling. We are born with those things. Well, Mike, you may ask, how do we get emotions? Dr. Lisa Feldman Baird and I and others like or better than us will argue that you are taught what to feel. You are taught how to feel. Unless these emotions naturally come with the thing that you do, sometimes we put emotions where it is not necessary. And I encourage you to learn the concept of the theory of constructed emotion and then unlearn unnecessary emotions because they can waste time, right? But let's look at emotional regulation if necessary and observation skills. They are very essential. When a child is in a high stressed environment, what happens? Cortisol levels in infants rise dramatically when they are in this high stress environment. But when you are a responsive caregiver and the infant is in an environment where responsive caregiving happens, it reduces long term anxiety markers, according to the research. Well, some of you may say, well, what is this research, Mike? How do we know you're not just reading from a PowerPoint? I am, right? Here we go. So let's talk about Eric Erickson's psychosocial theory of development at the first stage, trust versus mistrust. The baby, fresh to the world, doesn't know how to meet their own needs and they need you. When you are a responsive caregiver, there are different types of cries. You got your feeding cry, your tired cry, your attention cry, I need my diaper change cry. If you're attuned with that or in tune with that, and the baby understands that every time they cry or attempt to cry, or the schedule when you feed your child, and sometimes there's some offset things. When the baby sees that you are all, not even just see, but feels that you are always meeting their needs through physical actions, because words won't help. They don't know how to make sense of that. But when they feel that you're always responsive, what happens? They learn that they can count on you to meet their needs because they can't do it for themselves. Now, without that skill, parents may mislabel crying as manipulation or becoming overwhelmed, or they could become overwhelmed and react with frustration. This is where the shaken baby syndrome likely comes from. When the crying is too much and you don't have the skill to be able to interpret what that crying even means, it potentially escalates the situation, impacting long-term infant emotional and even skill and cognitive development. Okay. So let's go ahead and go to the next problem, number two. Here we go. Uh-oh. Curtains back. Yeah. Here we go. Let's look at feeding difficulties, the skills that are needed. Proper feeding techniques and burping methods are very crucial at this stage, right? Early feeding difficulties can significantly impact weight gain and oral development, making these skills essential for infant health. So, Sigmund Freud talked about the oral phase, right? That's one of the things when you have babies who like to put things in their mouth. Well, that's how they communicate. That's how they sense things. They sense things through their to their tongue, just like how a little bit how a serpent would when they flick their tongue out to test the environment. And what there's a lot of things that a serpent does in using their tongue. Well, an infant has some similar characteristics when they put their mouths on things and use their tongue to determine the texture. Is it bumpy? Is it smooth? I remember a long time ago when my children were little, having those little blocks where you would make sure they were sanitary or sanitized and things like that. And they would put them in their mouths. That's one of the things that children do during that oral phase because that's how they learn. That's also how they feed. Right. So don't get mad at it. It's important to understand it. Now, without this skill of understanding what babies actually do, babies may suffer from a condition called failure to thrive. And feeding time becomes a stressful battle for both parent and child, potentially leading to long term feeding issues and nutritional concerns. Let's look at problem number three, irregular sleep patterns. Some of you all are like, look, I don't get enough sleep. The baby is always keeping me up. Well, that's a thing. That's a baby. That's what they do, right? Here we go. Here are the skills that are needed. Sleep routine building and safe sleep knowledge are vital at this stage. Safe sleep practices reduce the risk of SIDS, that's sudden infant death syndrome, by over 50%, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics guidelines. Without the skill of understanding the safe sleep, look at the picture on your left, right? Safe sleep for your baby. Always place the baby on their back to sleep. Make sure your baby's head and face stay uncovered when asleep. Keep your baby smoke free during pregnancy and after birth. The safest place for your baby to sleep at night is in a cot in your room. Never fall asleep with your baby on a sofa or an armchair. Breastfeed your baby if possible. Okay. And there are other things that you can learn about safe sleep for your baby. Now, without that skill, sleep deprivation. Oh, how many of us adults suffer from not getting enough sleep, right? This is very important. Sleep deprivation severely impacts caregiver mental health and compromises baby safety, creating a dangerous cycle of exhaustion and poor decision making. Let's go to problem number four, diaper rash and infections, the skills that are needed. Proper hygiene and skin care. These routines are very essential. Prolonged moisture combined with friction, the pamper against the buttocks, things like that. There are different kinds of pampers, right? If you don't know that, you got to talk to somebody who specializes in this area or talk to a mom or a dad who is a diaper changing champion. I used to be one of those. I love changing diapers. It's a skill. You got to do it. Babies can't do it on their own, right? Here we go. But different babies' skin types can be affected by the pamper choice too. So those things are important to learn, right? The friction of the pamper on the buttocks, and especially with the fecal matter, it can lead to breakdown in the skin barrier, requiring preventative care knowledge. Now, without that skill, there is an increased risk of infections, significant infant discomfort, and possible emergency room visits, right? That could be prevented with proper hygiene practices. All right, let's go on ahead and continue. Here we go. Do, 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 do. Wait for it to pass. Sorry. Okay, problem number five. Here we go. We're doing it live. We are doing it in live. Right. Here we go. Problem number five, illness and fever. The skills that are needed, symptom recognition and health tracking abilities are crucial. Fever in infants under 3 months of age can signal serious infections requiring immediate medical attention. So if you look at the chart on your left hand side, there's oral temperatures, rectal and ear, underarm, just the areas where you would take temperatures, and it even gives you mild, moderate, and high fever. But always consult your pediatrician for updated guidance. Okay. Without this skill, delayed medical care could lead to hospitalization or serious complications that might have been prevented with early recognition and appropriate response. Here we go. Problems 6 through 8. Number six, digestive and physical development, constipation and bowel issues. This is important because if anybody has ever looked at a diaper where it seems like, oh my, what is that smell? And then when you open up the pamper, baby, did you cramp up your back? You got to be laughing too if you've experienced that. Like, how does that happen? Here we go. Monitor elimination patterns and infant safe solutions carefully. Diet, hydration, and gut flora develop rapidly. Unsafe remedies can cause serious complications. Let's look at flathead syndrome. Develop positional awareness. Learn how your baby should be positioned and how to effectively monitor and carry out tummy time. Tummy time is so important for babies. It's so important because that's how they develop their gross motor skills, things of that nature. That's how they end up practicing holding their head up. They need that time. They need that time. Now, flathead syndrome and flattening is often reversible with early intervention. This is why it is very important for you to have a relationship with your child's pediatrician. Okay, this is important. Prevention eliminates the need for helmet therapy later. It's also important for you to learn about developmental milestones too. We're going to touch on that later. Let's look at startle reflex and overstimulation. Learn gentle soothing and sensory management skills. Overstimulation disrupts sleep and organized behavior. Poor management strains parenting and child bonding, the parent child bonding significantly. And this is important if we're talking about attachment, which we're going to talk about as well. John Bowlby and John Dewey's attachment theory. This is very important that you spend time with your baby and develop understanding the serve and return, reading to your baby, narrating to your baby, talking to your baby, paying attention to their reflex and when they grasp and when they move and they reflex things, and learn what those reflexes actually are, and learn whether it's developmentally appropriate or there could be a potential developmental delay. It's very important for you to learn these things. Let's dive into it. Problems 9 through 11 in development and safety. Let's look at developmental delays. Master milestone tracking and early intervention awareness. Early brain stimulation creates lasting neural pathways. Delayed diagnoses. What happens when you see something, but you don't necessarily know what it means. Okay. And so it's important for you to know what these things mean because you, as the parent, mom or dad or mom or mom, whomever, right, the caregiver, you are the first person who can see something and actually be able to react to it early because the baby can't do it. The baby might sense something is wrong, but all they can do is cry, right? Delayed diagnosis impacts long term development outcomes significantly. Let's get to bonding and eye contact. We talked about attachment theory. We're going to go into some more theories as well because you need to know these things, right? Here we go. Bonding and eye contact. Practice intentional bonding and secure attachment methods. Attachment security predicts emotional resilience later. The child needs to know that they can count on you. Okay, they can count on you. Poor bonding, risk attachment disorders, and behaviors. Let's look at SIDS risk prevention. SIDS, that's an acronym for sudden infant death syndrome. I had to think about what it was. We're doing it live. Here we go. Master SIDS prevention and sleep safety knowledge. No pillows, loose blankets, or bed sharing early. And see here, this happens no shame, no criticism, but we got to address it. When people who have suffered from adverse childhood experiences and culturally cultivated family shared chronic generational transmission of trauma, right there, there's variation in that stuff. When men, women, family, and friends have walked away, Abraham Maslow even talked about this. All humans need love. We need that, right? We need that attachment. And if we did not get that attachment, body growth and mind growth are two different things. Your body can grow, that's a continuous thing, right? But psychological growth, cognitive growth, mind growth is at different levels of continuity or discontinuity, right? And so if men, women, family, and friends have walked away, it is a thing. Set aside the value judgment of right or wrong, good, bad, legal, illegal, moral, immoral. It is a thing to create a child to want that attachment. And why am I saying this? Because when you got the bed sharing, it's oh my God, this baby came from me, or I created this baby, this is ours. If the baby is used for a relationship bonding thing, right? No judgment, again, no criticism, but we are talking about objective facts that is proven by empirical research that's out there, right? Here we go. You always want to keep the baby close to you. That's not good for the baby's health, right? No bed sharing early. Okay. Lack of knowledge increases preventable death risk. Okay. We want to prevent these things. So let's go on ahead and continue. Here we go. Problems 12 through 14 in health and social development. Here we go. Immunization discomfort. Who likes getting shots? Learn post vaccine or post shot soothing and symptom monitoring. Please do not pathologize the children crying. Crying is defined as something that humans do to relieve pressure, right? For whatever reason, but it's what you do to relieve pressure. How many of you all felt good after a good cry? Come on now, right? Children are the same way too. That's how they communicate. Normal, mild fever, but it's dangerous to over medicate, right? Poor response may delay future vaccines, right? So let's look at teething. Yep, you know how many teeth? 32, I think, right? 32. Here we go. But in the teething pain, that's going to happen because you're going to have your baby teeth, and then the baby teeth are going to fall out, and then you're going to get your other sets of teeth. But it can hurt. It can hurt, right? Some of you may remember, some of you may have experienced, heck, as an adult, it may hurt for some of your other teeth to fall out, right? Develop a safe pain relief plan, an oral care plan. Teething starts as early as 4 months. This is predictable. It's nothing you can do to, well, theoretically prevent it, right? Dangerous teething gels should be avoided completely. Okay. Always consult your doctor's or your child's pediatrician for what types of gels should be avoided, right? Then let's look at stranger and separation anxiety. Build a secure base and practice gentle exposure. I invite you to look into the work of Mary Ainsworth, Strange Situation or Stranger Situation, John Dewey, and John Bowlby's attachment theory. We're going to talk about this on these pages, okay? You can also Google this stuff, YouTube this stuff. I won't be the only source, and I'm not the only source of this information, but I'm happy to provide this information. Attachment is very much needed so that the child can feel that they trust you to meet their needs, to guide them as future adults for their present state of being an infant, not being able to do, not knowing. It is important. Now, stranger anxiety is normal at 6 to 8 months, right? Here we go. Because the more you build that attachment with them, then they start to get into this next stage, according to Eric Erickson's psychosocial theory of development, of autonomy versus shame and doubt. But in between that, autonomy, they're trying to break off from you and establish independence and doing things on their own, but they're going to bounce between wanting you to be there and wanting to do it for themselves. And that anxiety, because that's another phase, right? Where they're starting to finally getting their grasp, they're getting their legs, they're starting to walk, they're starting to want to do things. Curiosity is now coming through. It's more than just crying. I'm starting to talk, and depending upon how much language exposure I've been exposed to, I'm starting to hear it. I'm starting to repeat the sounds that I've heard. It's so much that they go through in this stage, and it's very important for you to be aware of that. We can look at Albert Bandura's social learning theory, right? With Albert Bandura, they're seeing what's in their environment, and they're reacting to so many abstract things they don't even know is abstract. Children are great repeaters of what they see in this environment. Environment is so important. This is the ecological systems theory, according to Yuri Bronfenbrenner, the microsystem that your children are in. This is very, very important. Poor handling fosters clinginess and anxious attachment, right? Clinginess, what causes them to always cling to you? You not understanding that they have times and periods where they need to be alone. I'm just going to go on ahead and just dive into Mildred Parton's 6 stages of play. Mildred Parton's 6 stages of play: unoccupied play, solitary play, onlooker play, parallel play, associative play, and cooperative play. So I've named them all. But at this stage, right, you're looking at unoccupied play and solitary play. Let the baby play by themselves. They don't always need to be around you, right? Because when they're always around you, that doesn't mean don't monitor them. But if they're always around you, they don't get a chance to play by themselves. The fact that they're always around you. And again, no shame, no criticism. But if they're always around you, they don't get the chance to explore and play with their fingers and their feet and their mouth and their hands and their eyes and on their back. They need that so that it's less likely of a chance for them to be as clingy, because they've had a healthy balance of time with you and time by themselves, right? I just felt it was important to mention that stage right now, talking about separation anxiety. It's important for you to know. Okay, let's dive into it. Essential skills for common problems. We talked about the 14 common problems, but then we also talk about emotional skills, emotional regulation. Emotions matter, but if they need to be there, right? We're going to also talk about things relative to emotions. Are children being front loaded with emotions? And I will show you the answer is yes, right? Emotions have to be something that makes sense within the context of the five senses: sight, taste, hearing, touching, and smelling. If you spend more time naming the feelings instead of teaching them how to solve the problem, what does that do? They've got the words for the emotion, but they can't solve the problem, so they're still in the problem, right? Here we go. Emotional regulation, when necessary, observation, and bonding skills from the foundation of responsive parenting. Manage your own stress and emotions effectively. I encourage you. Oh, we got it. That's got to be one of the next things that we tackle here, because I keep saying things about emotions, but it will change your life when you see that emotions that you may currently have may not even be necessary to solve the problem, and they may be wasting time. Now, don't get me to getting you to dislike the emotions that you want to keep. If you want to keep them, hey, you want them, you got them because you want them. But if you want to break free from unnecessary emotion, you're going to want to go on ahead and stay tuned to these pages, because you're going to learn those things, right? Manage your own stress effectively. If you have health problems, if you have not done an inventory of your adverse childhood experiences, your adverse child, and we're going to dive into that, your adverse childhood experiences, if you have not taken a dive into these things, how are you going to be who you need to be for your child who's trying to be? Sit with that. Let that sizzle. Sit with that. Okay. Observe and respond to infant cues appropriately. How do you observe and respond to infant cues appropriately if you don't know what you're seeing? If you don't know what you're seeing, you have to know what you're seeing. You can see it or not even see it, because just because you have eyes doesn't mean you see it, right? Here we go. Begin secure attachment building through intentional bonding practices. Let's look at health skills, medical awareness, safety knowledge, and developmental understanding. Protect infant well being. Recognize symptoms and track health patterns accurately. Implement safe sleep and SIDS prevention methods and measures. Monitor developmental milestones and seek early intervention. In terms of learning skills, continuous education and skill development ensure that you stay prepared for emerging challenges you know are coming. Seek parenting classes and professional guidance regularly. Stay updated on current pediatric recommendations and research. Okay. Build support networks with qualified healthcare providers. Let's go to the next page. Here we go. All right, here we go. Learning resources for each skill area. Now, here are some areas. We're going to talk about the skill areas: a primary resource, secondary resource, professional support, and the expected outcome. You can access these evidence based resources to build your parenting skill set systemically and effectively for each common infant challenge. So let's look at the skill area on the chart here. For emotional regulation, I argue read the book How Emotions Are Made by Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett, and Between Us, How Cultures Create Emotions by Dr. Batja, Batja, I believe I'm spelling that right, Mosquita. Okay. That is it's going to blow your mind. That book is just absolutely outstanding. Both of those books, right? And you can even go to audible.com, or if you got the iPhone, you got the app, you can download those books and listen to them. Oh my God, it'll cause you to reframe how you name. Oh, it's so beautiful. Reframe how you name these emotions. And are the emotions even necessary, right? It may not even be necessary. Oh, this is going to be so beautiful, right? Here we go. The primary resource besides those books, Circle of Security classes, secondary resource, infant mental health programs, professional support. You can talk to pediatric psychologists, okay? We're going to have a conversation about that. Need you to be careful when you talk to certain psychologists, because you don't know if they're going to end up pathologizing your child. We got to dive into that. Okay. The expected outcome: reduce crying episodes. Let's look at feeding techniques. This one, I got to say, you got to go speak to a lactation consultant, and they can teach you about the science of helping your baby latch on to the nipple if you're breastfeeding, or to the nipple if you're bottle feeding. Understand the difference between the two, common predictable problems, and how to avoid them. Secondary resource: women, infant, children, WIC programs, professional support, hospital, postnatal education. The expected outcome: successful feeding patterns, right? And these are things I would argue you need to do before you have that baby, way before you even decide to get pregnant. If your daughter's a pubescent in the age of 13, or around about that stage, maybe when she's getting her first period, don't wait until she actually gets pregnant. You might want to get her into those classes early. Remember, your child is not yours. I will say that again. Your child is not yours. They have, okay, granted, your child, you are the caregiver of your child by law, by birth, things of that nature. But why do you think your child can be taken away by the government? Because your child is a human being unto and unto themselves. They have their own social, own fingerprints, own personality, own teeth, own blood, own eyes, own ears. You get what I'm saying. Your child is a being, right? And they are a future adult, not a present adult, but they are a future adult. Train them for their future. You're so busy stuck in the past. You're so busy stuck in the present, but they are growing. They are growing. Come on now, we can do better. I believe in you. Let's go. Hospital postnatal education, successful feeding patterns, right? This is the expected outcome. Let's look at sleep safety in this area over here, okay, on the chart to your left, third from the top. Sleep safety, safe to sleep campaign. Okay, that's a primary resource. Secondary resource: pediatrician visits. Talk to your pediatrician. Talk about best practices and ways to sleep. I'm going to talk about the board of directors. This is very important. I really believe that you need to have a pediatrician on your own personal board of directors to give you this guidance and training before you get into it. Why do I say that? The time of the fire is not the time to learn how to use a fire extinguisher. The time of the self defense situation is the worst time to then learn how to use the fire. You should already know how to use that. You get where I'm going. Okay. Professional support, sleep specialist, so important. Okay. The expected outcome, sudden infant death syndrome prevention. Next, health monitoring, first aid CPR courses. Oh, come on now. You need to go on dates that matter. Oh, that's going to be another episode that we're going to have here. Dates that matter. That is going to be so important. Pediatric workshops, primary care physicians, the expected outcome, early problem recognition. How your baby develops matters, and being able to spot things that are actual issues versus saying something that is an issue that may not be because it may be developmentally appropriate, right? That's important. Please make sure you watch the episode that I have on developmentally appropriate parenting practices. Oh, developmentally appropriate parenting. This stuff is so important. This stuff is so important. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Here we go. And then developmental tracking or development tracking. You can go to the website cdc.gov and or just Google CDC milestone checklist. Download those checklists so you can be able to look. You got the checklist of what your baby should be doing, but you can also Google or go on YouTube and just Google what does it look like when a baby is doing this, right? Taking those milestone checklists and just plugging that in so that you can see what that looks like so you can recognize if they're doing it. It's not enough to just have that checklist. You have to know what to see. So you are not seeing it through the lens of what you don't know. Because you don't know what you don't know until someone points you out or points out the areas that you actually don't know, right? Early intervention programs, talking to developmental specialists, timely support services if they are needed. Okay. Let's build your parenting skill set. We're almost done here, right? Building your parenting skill set way before the baby arrives. And go on ahead and put another line right here. When you are a pubescent, right? What does that mean? When you're biologically able to create children as a man and receive the seed of creation into the egg that you have within you as a young girl, a pubescent girl, right? To then create children, right? We don't think of our teenagers as pubescents, but doctors do, right? So that happens, right? Before the baby arrives. Enrolling comprehensive parenting courses, newborn care workshops, and safe sleep education programs. Sidebar question. How are you talking about breaking the transmission of generational ignorance? In other words, what you don't know or what your family doesn't know if you don't enroll your son or daughter in a parenting course as a teenager? Yeah, let that sizzle. You see what I'm saying? Why do you say, oh, they'll figure it out? No, they won't. That's that's not a thing. That's not a thing, right? I mean, it could be if their curiosity is not destroyed, right? Here we go. Enroll in comprehensive parenting classes, newborn care workshops, and safe sleep education programs at the hospital discharge. Receive hands on training from nurses, lactation consultants, pediatric specialists about immediate care needs. Within the first few months, attend well child visits. Join parenting support groups and practice skills with professional guidance and ongoing professional development. Some of you are like professional development. I'm not a professional parent. Yes, I would argue that parenting is a profession. Parenting is a profession. Parenting is a vocation. And if you looked at it as a profession and a vocation, you would understand, yes, there is a need for ongoing development. I can tell you as an early childhood educator, every year we got to take classes. We have no choice. If we don't take classes, we don't maintain whatever job or career that we have. It is very important to continue your education through parent resources, developmental milestone tracking, and community support networks. Let's go on ahead and go. Oh, airplane off. Let's look at qualified parenting. I am of the belief that qualified parenting is skilled parenting beyond perfect parenting. Look, we don't need perfect parents. We don't need to be. What is perfection? What is perfection in humans when we are fallible? We are capable of error. I hope I'm using that word right, right? We don't need to be perfect parents, but we need to be prepared ones. And there are manuals. plenty of manuals that are just objective facts about the science of parenting and human growth and development. Every infant problem can be anticipated through proper education and skill development, eliminating guesswork and panic. Build your skill set. I believe in you. Start where you are, but don't stay there. Invest in parenting classes, read developmental science, and learn practical techniques. They got plenty of books, audio books, right? I invite you to go to educationplanner.org, educationplanner.org. And we're going to do that here, educationplanner.org, and then learn about your development or your learning styles, right? Because then that would help you understand what type of classes to take, things like that. Don't just start. I'm just encouraging you not to just start off thinking it's going to work out one way and then you don't learn anything from that class, because then that could dissuade you from trying to take any classes in the future. It's important for you to understand how you learn now, not how you've learned as a child, because learning styles change with the content and with your human evolution and your education status where you are now. So it's important to constantly reevaluate those things. Okay. Prepared response. Learn how to soothe, feed, and teach and protect your child through evidence based methods rather than just trial and error. Trial and error. It's okay to try, but try after you have the skills that you need to have, right? All right, let's dive back into it. Here we go. And loving a child is not the same as knowing how to raise one. This powerful distinction emphasizes that while love is essential, how many of you all grew up in parenting in homes where they were like, baby, love is all you need? And some of y'all went into the room like, that is, you need more than love. Baby. Love is not going to fix these grits, right? Love is not going to fix the food. Love is important, right? We'll talk about that too. The 7 types of love. It's essential, but effective parenting requires learned skills, knowledge, and preparation. True care for our children means equipping ourselves with the tools needed to meet their needs completely. The qualified parenting approach. So here we go. Systemic preparation. Anticipate common challenges through structured learning and skill building. Develop your parenting toolbox before problems arise, not during crisis moments. Support networks. Now, this is important. Build relationships with healthcare providers, other parents who are skilled, not just any parent, and professionals who can provide actual guidance. No parent should navigate infant care challenges alone without resources. Single parenting, where there's just one person who's the parent. Look, single parenting is not the problem. Single parenting is not the problem. The problem is like what it would be if a school principal walked into the school on the first day. They walked through the door and they had 100 kids staring at them. Wait a minute. Okay. Good morning, you all. Good morning, Mrs. Whoever, right? But what is this principal missing? An assistant principal, guidance counselors, chairs of departments, other teachers at various levels of their education. Does that make sense? And the principal does not take it personal. Remember how I started this out? What did I say? Problems are not personal, they are predictable. I want you to say that with me. These are affirmations you need to say to yourself. It's not my fault. It's what I was taught. Sound off in the comments. It's not my fault. It's what I was taught. It's not my fault. It's what I was taught. Say it until your brain realizes it. Okay. Then here's another one. Problems are not personal. They are predictable. Problems are not personal. They are predictable. Problems are not personal. They are predictable, right? These problems are predictable, right? Nothing new is under the sun. Let's go biblical. For those of you all who do study the Bible, whether you're Christian or not, I'm just using it as a reference. Okay, we're not going to get into that. We're using it as a reference. Proverbs 24:3 and 4. With wisdom, houses are built. With knowledge, its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures. As a parent, you live in a house, you're building a house, right? Whether you're married or parenting, two separate vocations, but they require skills. You need wisdom. What is wisdom? Wisdom is defined as the quality of being wise by having, here we go, knowledge, skill, and good judgment. If you have not been taught family and consumer sciences, which is formerly home economics, that's what it's called in America now, family and consumer sciences. If you have not been taught family law, if you have not been taught human growth and education and child development, early childhood education, then you don't have the knowledge. You don't have the skill. You may have done some things, but how many of you all have done things and kind of you knew what you was doing, but you didn't know what you were doing, right? That's a thing. Both can exist in the same space, right? And you have not done a thing in front of people for them to have the ability to be able to say, qualified people to say that this is good according to best practices or this needs work. Not yet. Here's what you've needed, right? Notice I didn't say bad, good, or not yet. This is what you need. Let's scaffold on top of what you already know. And if you have not been in front of those people, then no, you don't have those things just yet. Growth mindset just yet, because I believe in you. I believe you're going to go get it. I believe you're going to go get it. You don't have to do it by yourself. Okay. I have a thing called the single parent family support teaching team. Single parent family support teaching team. Okay. I'll make sure that I drop the link in the description so that you can find that single parent family support teaching team. Hit on that video, okay, and it'll teach you how to build a network, a support network around you. The stuff is important, right? Then let's look at continuous learning. Stay current with pediatric research, attend parenting workshops, and seek professional guidance. Education never stops when it comes to effective parenting and child development. Here we go. So here's some key takeaways from this episode of Family Matters with Instructor Mike. The core message: parenting an infant doesn't have to be overwhelming chaos. With the right skills and preparation, you can confidently address every common challenge, or at least most of them, right? Your baby will face. We look at it from a science-based approach. Research backs every recommended parenting skill and technique. Well, you get what I'm saying. Not the spare the rod, spoil the child. No, this we'll talk about that. Evidence-based methods replace guesswork with proven strategies. Understanding the why behind each skill builds confidence. In terms of proactive preparation, start building skills before challenges arise in daily care. Anticipate problems rather than react to crises afterwards. Continue education, continuing your education and continuous education. It keeps you ahead of developmental challenges and changes. Love plus skills matters. Love plus skills matters. Combine your natural love with learned competencies. Love alone is not enough. Community support. Make sure that you access professional guidance and parent networks, and then it'll help you get confident outcomes. Skilled parents, skilled, skilled parents create environments that are healthier so that babies can be happier. Oh, that is so important. So here are some action steps for new parents before the baby arrives. You know what I said earlier, when you're pubescent. Come on, parents. You know your daughter need to be in a parenting class. Stop playing around, right? Here we go. Take proactive steps to prepare yourself with essential knowledge and skills for common infant challenges. Enroll in comprehensive newborn classes that teach about care and parenting workshops offered by hospitals. Complete infant CPR and first aid certification through the American Red Cross, American Heart Association, and other applicable but certified programs. Connect with lactation consultants and pediatricians to establish your support team early. During the first 3 months, focus on applying those learned skills while continuing to build your knowledge base through practice. Attend all scheduled well child visits and ask questions about developmental needs, developmental appropriateness, developmentally appropriate practices, where to get there, right? And care techniques. Join new parent support groups to share experiences and learn from others. Document your baby's patterns and progress to understand their unique needs. Here are some more essential resources for qualified parenting: educational foundation, Build your knowledge base through reputable sources, professional guidance, and evidence based parenting resources that will serve you throughout your child's development. Healthcare partners, it's important to establish relationships with pediatricians, lactation consultants, and specialists who can guide your parenting decisions. Community support, you don't have to do it alone. It's important for you to connect with parenting groups, classes, and online resources that provide you the ongoing education and encouragement. Encouragement, giving you spirit and hope that you can do this, right? Here we go. Digital tools. You can utilize apps like VSafe, the CDC milestone trackers, and feeding logs to monitor development. It's not about being there. It's about being qualified when you get there. Oh, repeat that again. It is not about you just being there. Being there alone is not enough. It's about being qualified when you get there. And this closing message captures the essence of effective parenting, that presence alone isn't enough. True parenting and true parental love expresses itself through competence, preparation, and the ongoing commitment to develop the skills our children deserve. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for watching. If this reached you, share this with someone preparing for parenthood, and remember to get qualified. For more information, you can go to the podcast Family Matters with Instructor Mike. That's Family Matters with Instructor Mike. Or you can go to www.instructormike.com. I'll see you next time.